It's March. It's madness. You already know the drill at this point, guys. Welcome on inside the huddle. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, Lucas Hill. Thank you all for joining us inside the huddle. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot to talk about. It's March. It's madness. We got to break down everything that happened around round one of the NCAA tournament. We got to talk a lot around college football as well. Heard a lot of rumors around the college game, a lot of potential new day one starters, a lot of opportunities for guys to grab some spots at that quarterback position. Who are the most underrated teams in college football going into 2025? Guys, once again, thank you all for joining us. If you're watching us on our flagship station X, make sure that you leave us a like. Make sure that you hit that retweet button. Make sure you retweet it to all your followers. Share it to all those friend groups as well. Make sure that you're also, if you're watching us on Instagram, give us a follow at Lucas_Hill_17, as well as leave a comment so that your questions, your comments, your concerns can get answered. If you're watching us on YouTube, of course, hit that subscribe button, guys. Hit a like. Make sure you share it. Make sure you subscribe. Like I mentioned, turn on those bell notifications. Guys, let me tell you, we have gained a significant amount of viewers over on Instagram, over on YouTube. And guys, we've been making some big plays on Instagram or on YouTube, and we appreciate the algorithm finally following us in our favor. We're close to 70 subscribers now. We've gained almost 40, or excuse me, not 40, but almost 15 in the last 2 or 3 months, and we appreciate all of you that are tuned in over on YouTube for joining our videos. I've already went ahead and posted the link to join inside the huddle. And so, guys, I appreciate all of you for joining. So let's get into this. March is upon us. And like I mentioned, madness is here. So let's go ahead and break down all that we have seen so far from today's action all around the first round. By the way, let me give you some score updates, guys. UConn and Oklahoma in a tight one. About 10:40 left in the second half. UConn with a 46-42 lead. You can catch that over on TNT. Illinois and Xavier in a tight one. I think Xavier might pull an upset on this one, but it's 52-44 going into the first 5 minutes of the second half. Now it's 46-52. Xavier cuts the lead back to 2 possessions. Bryant stormed out to an early lead, but they only trail by 5 as we go into the second half for the Michigan State and Bryant game. So, again, guys, want to continue the love, want to continue the likes. But yeah, Bryant played tough in that first half. Really, I'm being serious. When I look at a team like Bryant, guys, they're very, very physical. They played very impressive. But the problem is that you just have not been able to convert from the field. You're shooting 32% from the field. You've got a guy in Rafael Pinzon who really had a very impressive senior campaign. Guys, he's 3 of 13 from the field and 1 of 6 from downtown. You haven't been able to convert from down there, and you've got to be able to take advantage of that whenever you get opportunities. You've forced a lot of turnovers, and I think that you need to be able to get your guards in a position to win at the end of the day. Looking at the rest of the field, Liberty is just getting their crap handed to Oregon, leading 44-20. Looks like Oregon's going to cruise to an easy win over the Liberty Flames. Looking at some other games around college basketball that we saw, Baylor pulling out a huge one against Mississippi State. Boy, that was a tight ball game from start to finish. Robert Wright III coming up clutch yet again. This is what he's done all year. And when you look at what this starting five has done, you are impressed by what you have seen so far. Guys, Robert Wright has been a difference maker for Baylor down the stretch of the season. Guys, it was a really, really tight year for this team all amongst the entirety of the season. But it seems just like in Robert Wright, in big-time games, he just seems to take it up a notch. And we've seen it. You saw it against Kansas last month, whenever he popped off and became arguably the star of that game. You know, you saw what he did against West Virginia, what he was able to do to help them get the win in overtime. And in big games that you were able to take care of, guys, you managed to handle business at the end of the day. And that's huge. That's absolutely impressive of what you were going to, your goal was at the end of the day. So, let's continue on. Look, if you're Mississippi State, it's one of those that you should have had. It's missed opportunities. It's inability to dominate the glass. Gave the ball up a lot. Wasn't able to convert from downtown. Shot great from the field. Shot 50% from the field, which is impressive. Guys, you were 10 of 30 from downtown. You missed a lot of opportunities. Another thing, 75% from the free throw line, guys. You had to get your opportunities at the free throw line, guys. You had 2 or 3 opportunities to convert, and you just didn't get them. Guys, 10 of 13 is going to kill you at the end of the day. Again, guys, I give Josh Hubbard a lot of credit. I thought he had a great game, but just took a lot of shots that he didn't really need to take at the end of the day. All right. Let's continue on with the rest of our finals from this one. Here's a game that I thought was going to be very close. I thought Akron was going to come in to the East region, and I thought that they were going to be able to give Arizona a scare. I was wrong, especially in the second half. It was a 10-point lead at halftime, and then Arizona State shoots 48% from three, dominates the boards, 53-22 glass or board or out rebounded Akron from start to finish. Guys, it wasn't even close. Let me just tell you. I mean, it was to a point in the first half where you thought, all right, well, Akron's competitive, and then boom, 9-0 run for Arizona. And then the lead would increase over and over and over as the time went on. So, again, just the lack of depth. Just the apparent lack of depth. That is what hurt a lot of teams throughout this postseason. And that's what's going to hurt them continuing on. That's why you're not going to see a 10 and below seed make a national championship game, because of just the lack of depth going up against much stronger seeded teams that recruit better, et cetera, et cetera. Arizona had a 34-point lead at one point and won by 28. Impressive second half. Impressive. Nothing bad to say about how Arizona played throughout the day. Ole Miss having to survive a North Carolina scare. Look, North Carolina's going on some of these runs where they'll just look bad in the regular season, and then postseason, they always seem to turn it up. Guys, RJ Davis, missed opportunities. UNC, 20% from downtown. 20% from downtown. Ole Miss led by 22 at one point at the start of the second half. And UNC comes back all the way back. And I think with about less than a minute left, it was 66-64. That's how tight that ball game was. That is how tight this ball game was. But again, Sean Padula, he's been doing this year after year. And he's done it again with Ole Miss. Huge tray from downtown, puts up 20 on the Tar Heels, and sends Ole Miss back to the round of 32. First ever tournament win for Ole Miss since 2014 or 2013, excuse me. They have never gone past. They've only gone past the round of 32 once. 2001 was the only time. Look, I love Chris Beard. I really think they can make a deep run in this year. Tournament-wise, Ole Miss is just not that team that you think of to make deep tournament runs. It's just not. It's just not their year. They didn't even have a tournament win until 99. And they have been playing basketball since 1909. Guys, you know how many tournament appearances that Ole Miss has in the history of their program? In the history of Ole Miss basketball, they have 10. And they've been playing basketball for the last, 15 years, 100 plus years? Unbelievable. Unbelievable, guys. So here is where we start to really dive deep into where Ole Miss is at. I think this is a year that they can potentially go on a nice little run. You play Iowa State next week. Iowa State has not looked good at points during the season, but they look very good today against Lipscomb. Do I think that they can make a run? Do I think Iowa State can make a run to the Final Four? Absolutely. Absolutely. They look dominant today against Lipscomb. Did I think that they were going to go far? Did I think Lipscomb was going to provide any sort of challenge to Iowa State? Absolutely not. But at the end of the day, Iowa State just looks dominant like they usually do. Ole Miss, guys, I would be very concerned about Ole Miss this year. Guys, I have a lot of confidence in Ole Miss. And I think this is one of those years that many people are not accustomed to seeing things that Ole Miss be dominant in basketball. Guys, they have an opportunity to do that this year. Do I think they're going to do it? Dude, it's very likely. It is very, very likely. Ole Miss has just done things this year that has gone under the radar all season long. And look, that's a Chris Beard type team. What Chris Beard has done in his 2 seasons, ever since he got to Ole Miss, look at last year. You go from a team that won only 12 games, actually 25 games, the last 2 seasons of Kermit Davis, and you win 20 games your first year. You get close to the NCAA tournament. You were a top 25 team at one point during the season, by the way. Guys, you started off 13-0. You get blown out by Tennessee. Don't look good in the SEC tournament. Bad end to the season. Could have made yourself. I think you were on the bubble at the end of the year, but just couldn't get a quad 1 win. I think you were quad 3, quad 4 wins. I think you had 1 quad 2 win if you count Texas A&M as Q2. You could say Arkansas, Florida, Vandy. I think you could say, nah, Arkansas, I don't think was even quad 4. But regardless, guys, Ole Miss just did not look good last year. And then this year, they've looked like a completely different team. It's been incredible to see that. St. Mary and Vanderbilt, that was a close one. I think that was probably the game of the week, man. Vandy led at one point by 10 in the second half, and then in comes St. Mary's. Guys, that was a tight ball game all the way through. But I'll give that St. Mary's team a lot of credit. Jordan Ross did a unbelievable job this year of leading that team back and being able to convert at the end of the day. That was a tight last couple of seconds, by the way, too. There was here, you obviously had to take over for a guy like Augustus Marcelonis, who struggled with foul trouble today. Dude, Vandy led by at least 12. Exited with his 4th foul early in the second half, and then in comes Jordan Ross off the bench, makes big plays. Dude, it's been unbelievable to see what St. Mary's has been able to do in the West Coast Conference. And you see what St. Mary's has to play against, guys. St. Mary's hasn't gotten a whole lot of credit for what they've been able to do. And look, I love St. Mary's. I think that their reign with Randy Bennett there, look at who they have to play. They got to play Gonzaga, San Francisco when they have their years, Santa Clara, Oregon State, Washington State, Loyola Marymount every now and then, Pepperdine whenever they get on. Guys, it's not an easy conference. I'll tell you that much. And look, there's so much that you could give the West Coast Conference, especially with all that has been going on with the background of that team and just how they've been able to recover so well in the West Coast Conference. I would say that I think this is their best season they've had since 2015. I think it was unbelievable that they didn't even make the tournament then when they win 29 games and you don't even win your tourney. That's what sucks about the West Coast Conference tournament, especially in 15 and 16 when Gonzaga is usually a typical contender. Every now and then Gonzaga just goes on a run and does great things. Sometimes they'll make a Sweet 16. They've made it to the national championship with Mark Few. I would not consider Gonzaga at this point in time to be a mid-major anymore. I would say they're one of the Bluebloods in college basketball. You know, you can disagree with me, but that is fine. Gonzaga needs to be considered a blue blood. I think they've earned it, and I think they've earned their flowers, and I think they deserve it. No question in my mind that I think they deserve it. Continuing on. Because, by the way, that 2015 team of St. Mary's, a lot of dogs during that time. Lack of a couple Q1 wins. You did beat Gonzaga, but I think it was sucky that you had to settle for the NIT. Okay. Colorado State beating Memphis. Honestly, I would not be surprised. I thought Memphis was very overrated going into the tourney, and they got exposed. You turned the ball over a lot. You let up in the second half. You let Colorado State run all over your defense. Is it to anyone's surprise that you had no consistency from your starting five when majority of your starting five goes this is what is so incredible to me. Guys, your starting five, specifically PJ Haggerty and Colby Rogers, Both go a combined total of 17 and 14 and 35 from the field. You shot 40% from the field, which is impressive. But if you take away Colby Rogers, guys, PJ Haggerty shot the basketball 23 times. They only converted 30%. Was 1 of 8 from downtown. Just did not look good today. And PJ Haggerty, I don't know what the hell was it. I understand you're the third leading scorer in the NCAA. You're a go-ahead bucket anytime you get an opportunity. Guys, it has hurt him time and time again. Guys, this isn't the first. I think this is the second most he shot the basketball in a game. Guys, it seems like time and time again, this kid is shooting in between 15 and 20 times a game. It's getting to a point where it's unbelievable, and it's no surprise that he's third in the league in points per game. And I'm not saying this as a bad thing about PJ Haggerty, but I do think that overall, it's not really impressive how he shoots from the field. Guys, he shoots 48% from the field. That's tied for 127th in college basketball. Not the greatest. Shot 30% from the field today. So, if you want to be a consistent guy, guys, I'm not crapping on PJ Haggerty. There's a reason why he was an American Conference Player of the Year this year. He deserved it. Make no mistake about that. I think he's going to be an excellent player in the NBA. Will he be a consistent role player? Absolutely. Do I think he's going to shoot the basketball 15, 20 times a game? No. Oh, hell no. You can forget it. Look, Penny Hardaway has got to consider this. You got to spread the basketball around, guys. You got to let your bench players take chances down the stretch. It can't just go into PJ Haggerty's hands. You got to have some supporting cast to help you. That's what hurt them. I think with Colorado State, you got a lot more consistency. You were better shooting the basketball, and you just took advantage of your opportunities. That is the bottom line at the end of the day. Now, do I think things could have gone either way for Memphis going to the line a bit more? Probably. But it didn't end up that way. The biggest thing is that you turned the ball over. 14 points off of 16 turnovers for Colorado State. You can't have that. Huge buckets that Colorado State got down the stretch. Yeah, man. Bottom line, it was rough. Rough showing for Penny Hardaway and company. But honestly, I knew they were overrated whenever they came into the tourney. I did not think that they were, I would say, worthy of a top 5 seeding. As good as they look in the American. They don't have that many quad 1 wins. So I'm not really that impressed. Dude, how about Gonzaga yesterday, by the way? We'll get to Drake in a little bit, by the way. We'll get to UC San Diego as well. And how about McNeese? Guys, but I'll tell you this. McNeese has to play complete basketball. You can't just go into the half up 20 plus and just let off the gas. You got to keep your foot on the gas. You understand any day could be Will Wade's final game in Lake Charles. You got to keep your foot on the gas at the end of the day, guys. All right. UC San Diego going up against Michigan. Guys, this was a game that I thought was going to be one of the more intriguing games of the NCAA tournament. Because Michigan's coming into this season. They were hot. Make no mistake about that. Michigan was hot going into this game. You win the Big Ten tourney. Top 5 team in the nation. Or, top 25 team in the nation. Now you play Texas A&M next week, which, by the way, I don't think they're going to do much in this one. You got to replace Juwan on Howard after the disastrous end of the year that they had the last 2 or 3 years of the season. And then Michigan comes into this year, first year with new head coach Dusty May, and they put together a hell of a season. It wasn't pretty. Ended off the year on a 3-game losing streak. At one point, guys, it didn't look like they were going to do much throughout the year. But got a big win against Purdue at home, worthy of a 5 seed, won the NCAA tournament. Won the Big Ten tourney. I thought they could have been maybe a top 2, maybe a top 4 seed in their region. Obviously, the committee didn't think so. So now you got to play Texas A&M in the second round for an opportunity to go back to the Sweet 16. So survive game. I think the line was like 1.5, or no, it opened up at 3.5. Look, hell of a opportunity for UC San Diego to pull off an upset, but survive and advance is the name of the game at the end of the day. Tyler McGee put up a great performance, but got to convert from downtown, man. Can't shoot 23% from the field or from downtown and win a ball game. Michigan, much better shooting. I thought you got great support from the bench. Got a combined total of 24 off the bench, which I thought was big, from Will Shetter, Roddy Gale Jr., and LJ Kaysen. I'm ready to see where Danny Wolf goes. I'll be interested. I think it's only a matter of time before we see Danny Wolf really take over in games, because he took over against Maryland. He took over against Purdue. Can he do it against Texas A&M to vault Michigan into the Sweet 16? We'll have to see tomorrow or whenever it is. I think it's on tomorrow. Gonzaga, what a start for that team. What an unbelievable start that they had to the game. You talk about a team, boom, start off 14-0, 13-0 run. All of a sudden, it's a 27-3 run for Gonzaga. Unbelievable. And it wasn't even close. Let me just tell you, ladies and gentlemen. There's a reason why I thought Georgia did not deserve to be this year, even deserve to be in the tourney. It's because of performances like this. I promise you, nobody in college basketball in their right mind thought about putting Georgia in the win column against Gonzaga. There was no way you could have convinced me that would have happened. Guys, Georgia just was so bad today. 55% from the field for Gonzaga. 19% from downtown for Georgia. 35% from the field. 60% from Gonzaga, by the way. Now Gonzaga's got to go play Houston tomorrow. We'll see how that goes, by the way. But we'll see what happens, man. Cougars are 22-1 against Big 12 teams, 9-3 in non-conference. Here's one of the best defenses in college basketball, man. Let's see what Gonzaga. Can they keep their hot streak alive? I don't think so. I think it'll be another disappointing end. But again, look at where Mark Few and company were at a couple weeks ago, and look at where they're at now. We'll see what LJ Cryer, Milos Uzan. But I think at the end of the day, guys, Houston pulls out this one. I think Houston's going to be a Final Four team. I wouldn't be surprised if I see them in the national championship. We'll see what they do against Duke, though. Missouri and Drake. I had so many high hopes for Missouri, for Missouri. I mean, Missouri just looked so dominant Majority of the season, I was like, I'm sold on Missouri. I love Missouri. I loved what they did. I love Caleb Grill. I loved what Caleb Grill brought to the table as a point guard. Couldn't get anything going. You got outshot 54% to 33%. And look, you got fouled a lot. They couldn't convert from the free throw line to save their life, and they still outshot you. I think Drake's probably the most dangerous team in college basketball right now. I would put them on upset alert, especially with how they performed. If they can finish against Texas Tech, baby, Red Raider country is going to be in trouble. I would not be surprised if Drake makes a little run. Maybe to the Sweet 16, maybe to the Elite 8, maybe even further to the Final Four. Maybe they'll be the first 11 seed since COVID to make the Final Four. It could happen. I am very high on Drake. Drake's got a lot to look forward to in their near future because Drake is that legit of a basketball program. The way they performed against Missouri, if they could, because I've seen them, they play consistent basketball. If they can do that, there's no doubt in my mind how good of a run they can make. All right, that's all for our March Madness breakdown. Let's talk about quarterbacks. Before we get to a sponsor, by the way, every live show that we do, ladies and gentlemen, is brought to you by our good friends over at vocalbreaks.com. Go on over to vocalbreaks.com and use code LucasHill10 for 10% off of your first monthly purchase. Appreciate our good friends at vocalbreaks.com for sponsoring our videos. We'll be back. We'll talk some quarterbacks. We'll talk about the most underrated teams going into 2025. You're tuned in to Inside the Huddle. Are you a music producer, DJ, or just someone who loves to remix tracks? Well, say goodbye to messy, low-quality track separations and hello to vocalbreaks.com, the most powerful AI-driven music editing tool on the market. Unlike other separation tools, Vocal Breaks harnesses the most advanced AI model available, delivering crystal clear vocals, pristine instrumentals, and an unmatched precision, all online with no software required. You can extract vocals or instrumentals with studio quality accuracy. It's perfect for remixes, mashups, karaoke, and music production, and for a faster, cleaner, and more reliable than any other service. So if you want the best, don't settle for less. Go on over to vocalbreaks.com and use code LucasHill10 now and experience the full future of AI-powered music editing. That's vocalbreaks.com using code LucasHill10. All right, quarterback talk time. Nothing better, nothing worse. We have a new leader in the clubhouse over at Alabama for the quarterback position. We've been talking majority of the offseason about the battle between Keelan Russell and Ty Simpson. But guys, we've missed on some more guys. Now, man, we got a couple of more battles, man. How about Austin Mack? Austin Mack, man, has turned it up during spring practice. He's turning heads during practice. He has excellent size. 6'6", 235, redshirt sophomore from Washington. To me, he would be perfect for the system because he's been with Ryan Grubb. He was recruited whenever Ryan Grubb was there. I think it's a match made in heaven. Just knowing what type of athlete that Austin Mack is, I think he would be an unbelievable addition to that backfield. I think he'd be perfect with Ryan Grubb as your offensive coordinator. There's a reason why he's been turning heads. again, I know we're still at the beginning of spring. I know we still have to deal with Ty Simpson for a little bit. I know that there's still a lot to look forward to with Ty Simpson, and of course with the former Gatorade Player of the Year, Keelan Russell, and the Elite 11 Finals MVP. But guys, Austin Mack brings a lot as a quarterback. Austin Mack is one of those guys that is going to make consistent plays for you. The kid has a big arm. Accurate passer. Whenever I tell you he's accurate, how many kids do you know have a 70% completion percentage playing at the level of competition that he's playing? 40 touchdowns compared to 5 interceptions during his senior year of high school. So dude has an unbelievable amount of talent in his arsenal, guys. Guys, he has seen a lot of growth. And your starting center in Parker Brailsford, who had talked about his growth ever since he went to Tuscaloosa, this is what he said. I've seen Austin grow since he's been here. I've seen him get a lot more confident. He's a lot more decisive with some of his reads and things like that. I'm excited for him. Dude, he's had a strong performance this week. It would surprise me if he gets a good bit of reps during spring practice. And I think that it's going to continue as the spring season goes on. And I think if he makes an impact, guys, he could be your day one starter going into 2025. You better remember the name Austin Mack near the end of the year. Because Austin Mack is going to make an impact whenever he touches the football. I think if he slims down a bit, knowing that he's 235, we got to get my 18-year-old dog in here, or however old he is. 18 or 19? 18? Okay.
But I'm your 18-year-old dog.
That is true. Anyways. But Austin Mack is the guy that I think is going to make a big impact whenever he steps onto the field as a quarterback. I think that is going to bring a lot with what he has at the end of the day. Looking at other quarterback battles, departing Buckeyes are saying that Julian Sayin could be QB1 in 2025. Ohio State draft hopefuls talked about how Julian Sayin is the likely choice to be the team's next quarterback, which, by the way, we know. Believe me, we know. Everybody knows about, what about Tavian St. Clair? What about this? What about that? Guys, Julian Sayin is the guy at the end of the day. When you have a guy that has been in the system, learned behind a guy like Will Howard last year, there's a reason why that he's going to get a lot of opportunities this year. Because I trust Julian Sayin at the end of the day. He is a very, very talented quarterback. They're saying that he could become the best ever. And I know people are going to say the same thing about Tavian St. Clair. And I understand. I understand, Buckeyes fans. I understand that you have to replace your offensive coordinator in Chip Kelly. But guys, you're in Ryan Day's backyard. You're in a guy that you should have a lot of overall just confidence with Ryan Day because of what he brings as an offensive-minded coach. And I think overall, Ohio State is going to be in a great position at the end of the day. I understand you're losing Justin Fry, who I think is one of the most underrated coaches in college football. Excellent offensive-minded guy who's going to be in the NFL. You lose Jim Knowles. You lose Justin Fry. Or you lose, Chip Kelly, who's now with Vegas. But do you think it's really going to be a big deal if Ryan Day takes over play calling? I certainly wouldn't have a problem with it. But guys, if we're going to be real, there is all the confidence in the world in Julian Sand learning from under Ryan Day. Ryan Day is the coach to look forward to in the near future because of his work with the offenses. I know he's going to make Julian Sand into the next great Ohio State quarterback. And if that's not the case, guys, you've got another guy. You've got Tavian St. Clair that you can get reps. You've got the spring to evaluate them both. You decide who's your guy going into 2025. And then you move on from there. You work on developing them. So we'll have to see what happens at the end of the day. Continuing on. Arch Manning. What are expectations for him at the end of the day? Well, at the end of the day, it's Heisman Trophy winner. More details have emerged from the spring game, by the way. Side note. So, again, time will tell with what happens to that. This is what he said. Let me give much love and respect to my dear friend and brother, Fran Brown. I love him to life. I'm praying that he's the guy that's going to make that jump. His university, we've already communicated. Fran, I love you. I appreciate you. I'm praying that it happens. It's not going to be just about football. It's going to be about financial literacy. It's going to be about everything. It's going to be about academics as well. We're going to do a joint thing with both teams if we can make this happen. I'd like this. I really do. I'm hoping that this happens because I would be a big fan of it. I'd be the one supporting it. And guys, I think that your number one overall goal is to make sure that these kids are going to make sure that they're getting the right opportunities at the end of the day. Hey, shout out my boy D. Lou out in the chat, by the way. Gonna be seeing him at his pro day next week. Hey, man, D. Lou, we'll be seeing you next Tuesday, bro, man. I'll tell you what, if there's ever a top prospect in this year's class, it's Darius Lewis. You know, I've seen the kid play. I think he's one of the best to have come through at the receiver position. He's feisty. He's fast. And let me just tell you, bro is going to make a big impact at the end of the day in the combine. All right. When you look at where the state of college football is at this point in time, everybody talks about the Bluebloods. When you talk about Ohio State, everybody's talking about Texas. Everybody's talking about Penn State. Everybody's talking about LSU. Who are the most underrated teams going into this year in college football that we're not mentioning right now? By the way, Illinois up double digits with 140 left in the second half. Xavier's not going to make a run this year, so you can forget about that. Michigan State, after a rough start, is going to possibly, all likelihood, actually win that football game or win this game. Oregon's dominating against Liberty. But continuing on, guys. Who are the most underrated teams in college football in 2025? Well, first of all, I want to kind of start with the one that I think should be the most obvious to me. And that to me, I think, is probably a team like Ole Miss. Here's why I say Ole Miss is underrated. Well, they're 25th according to the Way Too Early top 25. I would think that they would be inside the top 20 at the end of the day. Guys, you have a lot to look forward to. You brought Austin Simmons is going to take over as your primary starting quarterback. I thought he looked great in the reps that he got last year. Your receiving room is going to be excellent. Caden Lee broke out last year as a sophomore, was one of the unheralded heroes. I know that everybody talks about Trey Harris and everybody talks about Jordan Watkins and guys like that. Not only are you bringing in Jordan Watkins, guys, you're also bringing in a guy like Caden Lee. I think Caden Lee should be very, very appreciated as a quarterback or as a receiver. Daquan Wright, I think, is going to be an incredible tight end for teams like this. The defense is going to be incredible. I know that you're going to have to replace the entire defensive line with Princely Malin, Jared Ivey, Walter Nolan, JJP's all losing, but you bring in Deshaun's on Stribling, Deuce Alexander, Caleb Odom, Princewell Malin, and Deshaun Womack, who were big pickups all around in the recruiting era. How are we feeling about our good friends over at Missouri? How are we feeling about Bo Pribula in year one? Going to be interesting, let me just tell you. Because Bo Pribula, to me, might be the most underrated quarterback in college football. We'll see what he does in year one. He's got a plethora of receivers that are coming back. I know it's going to suck without Theo Weiss and without Luther Burden III for you to throw the football to, but he's still going to be a very elite quarterback. We've talked about Texas Tech plethora. And I think if Micah Hudson comes back, dude, if he's ready to play by then, guys, you better get it ready for what could be a breakout year for Texas Tech in 2025. What about Baylor with Sawyer Robertson? Could they be a top-tier team this year? Maybe. What about Louisville? Louisville's up there. To me, I think Louisville is one of those teams that is to me one of the most interesting guys or interesting teams in college football. You brought in Miller Moss from USC. I think that you can really, really guide him to be a more elite quarterback at the end of the year. I think with what Louisville has, I know you're losing Ja'Cory Brooks, but you bring back Chris Bell, who looked good at times during the season. Speedy receiver, let me tell you. Isaac Brown is coming back after last year's 1,000-yard performance that he had. Brought in on the defensive side of the ball. You brought in Cleve Lubin, Darius Tack, three guys that you can plug in and play right off the bat. Can be really good for your team. So what about Louisville? What about Florida? What can they do this year? What about Indiana? We'll get into all those when we talk a lot more about it tomorrow night. All right. Y'all have a great rest of the night. I'm out of here. I'm tired. We'll see y'all tomorrow. A lot of March Madness continue to break down as we break down the first half of round 2 games and a lot more. Thank you for joining us inside the Huddle.